Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my unboxing of Bookchor's 2022 Lock the Box, and this video is not sponsored by them in any way. I just wanted to share my experience of the sale with you guys. If you're watching this video between the 6th and 15th of May 2022, the sale is actually live now in Chennai, Vijayamahal T Nagar, so you can just go forward and purchase the books from there. I usually prefer buying books from the Lock the Box sale always because those boxes are super affordable and the amount of books that we can fill in those boxes is always more than the price range of the boxes. This time I've bought the biggest of all the three sizes that are available, which cost 3,000 rupees, and I was able to fit in a total of 25 books inside the box. I'll show you how the box looks and all the books inside the box. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. So guys, this is the box and it is huge. It is so heavy, so I'm just going to keep it aside and we'll get into the books right away. I'll tell you guys how the collection is inside the sale as well as the sizes of the boxes and what you can expect from them. In order to know that, please do wait until the ending of the video because I want to spend a lot more time talking about the books rather than the sale here. The first book is I Too Had a Love Story by Ravinder Singh. I've read only one book by this author before and it is The Belated Bachelor Party. The genre of that book is contemporary comedy and I loved that book totally. After that, I did not pick up any of his other books, but I know that this is his most famous work so far and it is also his first book. This is the 10th anniversary hardcover edition of the book and that says something about the book that it is very famous, and I've also heard many people talking really good things about this book. Most of the books that I'm going to show you guys in this video are brand new books and so is this one. I'm very much excited to get into this and see how it is going. I know that many of you guys have also read this book, so comment down below and tell me what I can expect from this one. The next one is an award-winning book and it is Flights by Olga Tokarczuk. It is the Man Booker International Prize winner for the year 2018 and I am interested in reading Man Booker Prize winner books because I think there is something in those books which just speaks to me in some way or the other. I am actually currently reading The Milkman by Anna Burns, which also won the Man Booker Prize in 2018. My brother was the one who found this book and asked me whether I'll be interested in reading or not. I just read through the synopsis and it sounded very crazy and interesting to me. I'll just read out the blurb to you guys because I don't think I'll be able to pitch the book properly for you. So here it goes. Flights is a novel about travel in the 21st century and human anatomy, broaching life, death, motion and migration. From the 17th century, we have the story of the Dutch anatomist Philip Verheyen, who dissected and drew pictures of his own amputated leg. From the 18th century, we have the story of a North African-born slave-turned-Austrian courtier, stuffed and put on display after his death. In the 19th century, we follow the Chopin's heart as it makes the covered journey from Paris to Warsaw. In the present, we have the harrowing story of a young husband whose wife and child mysteriously vanish on a holiday on a Croatian island. With her signature grace and insight, Olga Tokarczuk guides the reader beyond the surface layer of modernity and towards the core of the very nature of humankind. That sounds very twisted and interesting for me, so I'm definitely going to read it soon. The next one is Postscript by Cecelia Ahern, which is the sequel to P.S. I Love You. If you didn't know, P.S. I Love You is one of my all-time favorite books and it is also a favorite book of my brother. So when we found the copy of this one, we just went forward and purchased it. I did not even read the blurb of the book because I know that it released last year or the year before and I've been wanting to read it ever since. Because of various things which are going on, I totally forgot that this book existed at all. The best thing about this one is that it is a floppy paperback, so it will be far easier to read. I'm going to reread P.S. I Love You sometime this year and then jump onto this one because I don't remember that completely. So let's just wait and see how this is going to be. The next two books are Me Before You and After You by Jojo Moyes. I actually ordered Me Before You in the last Lock the Box sale itself online, and because of some reasons it was not available for me and they replaced another book in its place, so I just went forward and purchased this because it was available this time around, and I also bought the sequel for that. I know that there's a third book in the series also, but it was not available in the sale, so I was not able to get my hands on it. I heard really good things about Me Before You also. I've not watched the movie in it because I've not read the book. This is about the story of two people, Love and Will, of which Love has lost her job and Will has lost his ability to walk because of a road accident. It's the love story that happens between two of them. I thought that this was actually just a standalone book and later on I got to know that it has sequels also. I'm definitely going to read these two soon and also discuss them with you guys because I know that some of you have read it and also want me to read it. So let's just wait and see how this is going to go. The next book is Angel Falls by Kristin Hannah. I read Firefly Lane by the same author last year and I loved that book so much. I did not expect a lot while I started reading the book, but I've heard really good things about Kristin Hannah's books before. I went in with very moderate expectations, but towards the end that book just ended up being a really great story. It is definitely the best female-female friendship that I've read so far. Now in this book we follow a couple, Michaela and Liam, of which the wife goes into a coma and she also has two children. Because of this, Liam has to take care of his wife as well as his two children. During this time what happens is Liam finds out that Michaela had a secret first marriage and he tries to bring that man into Michaela's life in order to bring her back from the coma and also tries to get her married to him so that she can remain happy. After reading Firefly Lane, I know that Kristin Hannah's books are super emotional and very strong in their tone, so I'm definitely interested in reading this soon. Next two books are Devlok 2 and 3 by Devdutt Pattanaik. The reason why I purchased these two books, even though the first book was not available, is because I've read a lot of other books by Devdutt Pattanaik before and I loved each and every one of them. Okay, he specifically writes only inside the mythology genre, and the way in which he writes his books is always really good. While reading his books itself, I was able to understand how much deep his knowledge of the subject was, and I was able to learn a lot of things about Hindu mythology from his books. I'm a person who likes mythology so much, so I'm always interested in getting to know a lot in that particular subject. I'm not sure whether we have to read the first book before getting into the part 2 and part 3 of these books, since they are just mythology and each and every story inside the entire collection stands on its own. And I'm also not sure when I'll be getting to these books, but I'm very interested in reading them. Next we have an anthology, and it is Flight or Fright, edited by Stephen King and Bev Vincent. In this collection there are many authors' stories which are taking place, and each and every story happens in flight, and the genre of each and every short story is also thriller. There are two other authors except Stephen King whom I'm interested in reading from this book. The first one is Richard Matheson, who's the author of I Am Legend, which I read last year and was super surprised because it was really good. And the next one is Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl is the most surprising element in this book for me, because I've read only some of Roald Dahl's children's books and I've not even thought that Roald Dahl writes in other genres also. So I definitely want to give this a read, and also it's a short story collection, so it can be read pretty faster compared to any of other Stephen King's books. And also, if you've read this before, please do let me know how it is. The next one is Inner Engineering, A Yogi's Guide to Joy by Sadhguru. I listened to the audiobook of this one in February and it was very interesting for me, and I was able to get a lot of insight from it also. So when I found a copy of it, I just bought it because I want the other members in my family also to read it, because I think it will be helpful for everyone. The language of this book is very easy to read. At the same time, the audiobook is narrated by Sadhguru himself. I don't think he's narrating any of his audiobooks nowadays, but this one was a really good read for me, so I want to read it at some time because it is very short and easy to read. I'll also try to review this book once I reread it. The next one is The Folk, the Witch and the Worm by Christopher Palini, which is the first book inside the Tales of Allegasia series. This is set up in the same world as the Inheritance Cycle Quartet, and I finished reading the Inheritance Cycle Quartet in March only, and I liked that series very much. That series was very slow in its pacing, so I'm definitely sure that this is also going to be something like that. But the thing which makes me want to read this book is that the font size of the book is so huge and the margins are so huge also. So I'm sure that if I sit down and start reading it, I'll be able to finish it in just a single sitting. Also, it is dragon fantasy, which is definitely one of my favorite types inside fantasy. So yeah, this is the next one from the box. The next one is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by John Gray. My brother has listened to the audiobook of this one, and I know that it is one of the most famous non-fiction books out there, but I was not interested in listening to the audiobook of this one because I don't think it will work out well for me in that format. So when I found the physical copy, I just went forward and grabbed it because I know that I will be reading this pretty soon. This book is about developing our communication skills properly in order to create proper relationships with different people whom we come across in our life. It is definitely not a book that is about romantic relationships alone. It is just about forming relationships in general, and I'm sure that everyone has that desire to understand people better so that we can strengthen our relationship with them. I'll also try to review this book once I finish reading it. The next two books are by the same author, and this author is one of my favorites from last year. So the author that I'm talking about is Jodi Picoult, and the first book is The Pact. Here we follow our two main characters, Emily and Chris, who have this suicide pact and they are just 17 in age. What happens as a result of this pact is that Chris ends up shooting Emily and she dies, but now Chris is being convicted of murdering Emily because no one believes that the next bullet inside the gun was for him. Since both the main characters in the story are under 18, their parents are also brought inside the story, and the question of whether the parents even know who their children are really comes into play. And I know that Jodi Picoult has a really good writing style, and the way in which she writes her characters were really amazing in that book itself. I have not read any of her other books since, but I'm very interested in reading them, so I got this one. The next Jodi Picoult book is The 10th Circle. Here we follow our main character Daniel, who's a stay-at-home dad, and he is the person who's the primary caretaker of his daughter Trixie while his wife is working. And what happens during the teenage of Trixie is that, just like any other teenager, she is also distanced from her father herself. And one night what happens suddenly is she returns from a party and says that she was raped by this person in the party. Everyone in her high school knows that there's this particular boy who broke her heart, but that doesn't actually mean that he's the person who must have raped her also, right? But what happens here is Daniel, just like any other parent, wants to lend his complete support to his daughter, and the plot progresses on from then. This also feels like a very peculiar as well as well plotted story, so I'm definitely interested to read it soon. The next one is The Infinite Desire for Growth by Daniel Cohen. Now this is about our human nature to want more when we have enough, and how it just keeps on piling up in our mind always. Okay, now this book is a combination of economics, psychology as well as anthropology put together, and the author has tried to explain why we need more even though we have enough all the time. In general, this is definitely a human tendency which all of us have, right? If we have less, we want enough, and when we have enough, we want more. For example, we can consider this video of mine itself. It's not like I've read all the books on my shelf right now, but I went forward and purchased 25 new books because I know that I want to increase my collection, and I also know that I'll be definitely reading them at some point in my life. The reason behind this desire and how we can manage it in order to properly grow ourselves and our society as a whole and try to get out of the rat race is actually the basic concept of this book. It is also very short in its length, and it was available as a fresh copy, so I just went forward and bought it. The next one is a box set, and it is the One Part Women box set by Perumal Murugan. There are totally 3 books inside the box. The first one is One Part Women. The second one is A Lonely Harvest, and the last and final book is Trial by Silence. And the covers of each of these 3 books is really beautiful. Okay, the main reason why I purchased this box set is because it was new, and also I liked Perumal Murugan's book last year. Okay, I listened to the Tamil audiobook of Poonachi last year, and that book was really amazing in its tone. Now, Perumal Murugan is a Tamil author whose works are translated into English by Anirudhan Vasudevan, and I have not read any of his other works in English, so I'm definitely going to read all these 3 books. I'm going to read these, and if I end up liking them, I'll also try to read them in Tamil because it's my mother tongue. I've heard really good things about this one also, so let's just wait and see how it's going to go. The next one is a travelogue, and it is The Travel Gods Must Be Crazy by Sudha Mahalingam. I've seen really good reviews for this book in some book blogs as well as Bookstagram, so I'm definitely interested in reading this. Here we follow the various journeys of the author herself, talking about some of the solo travels that she had across the world. The book is also filled with some photographs of the places that she visited. I'm not a person who usually travels a lot because of my work and all the other stuff that I do, but I do like watching travel vlogs, at the same time reading some small articles on short travels because I like to plan out some trips for myself. I think this book will be interesting in that way for me, so I'm definitely interested in reading it soon. The next one is another self-help book, and it is Meditation and Its Methods by Swami Vekananda. The main reason why I want to read this book is because I've been loving meditation for over the past year, because I've been meditating each and every day, and it has helped me a lot with my anxiety and many other stress related issues which I deal with on a daily basis. I've been meditating for at least 20 minutes each and every day for over the past year, and it has helped me so much. And I've not read any books written by Swami Vivekananda before, but I know that he is definitely one of the best people to talk about this topic from our modern history. I'm going to read this and try to understand all the different methods that he's talking about, and try to reap the most benefits out of the different types of meditations that he's talking about also. I know that there are many different types of meditations, but I do only guided meditations nowadays because it is easier for me and puts me in the mood properly always. So yeah, because of all these reasons, I definitely want to read this soon. The next one is a series bind-up, and it is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. There's no dust jacket for this hardcover, but you can see the name of the book in the spine itself. It is a bind-up of all the 4 books inside the series. I know that there are also 2 other books which are published after 2000, but these are the first 4 books which were published in the 70s, 80s and 90s. I've listened to the first book in the series, which is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, as an audiobook in 2020, and I should say that it was very hilarious, and it made me think in multiple instances because of the bizarre tone in which it was written. It is definitely a book which you can just fly through easily because it has all these awkward dialogues and awkward encounters that happens for the main character. In that book, we actually follow this main character named Arthur, who's having his house being torn down in order to increase the width of a highway. He tries to save his house, but he's not able to. At the same time, what happens is the earth itself is to be burst into components and destroyed in order to construct this huge intergalactic highway. So Arthur ends up being inside the spaceship along with this other man called Ford, and the entire book is basically about the conversations that happen between Arthur and Ford. It is very bizarre in its tone and super funny. I don't know why I did not continue on with the series, but I'm sure that I'll be reading the entire series since I have the entire bind-up now. I can actually count this single book as 4 different books because it is a bind-up, and that's the main reason why I bought it. The next one is actually a self-help that my brother chose. I was not interested in reading this book, but he just wanted to purchase it. It also sounded a bit interesting for me, but I don't know whether I'll be reading this anytime soon or not. And it is For CEOs, which is one of the books from HBR's 10 must-reads. It is a business book which is just a collection of articles from Harvard's business reviews. I don't know when I'll be reading this, but I think it will be helpful for me in some way or the other. The next one is the biggest hardcover of all the books that I've bought in the sale, and I can say that this is definitely a steal deal for me compared to anything else. It is Percy Jackson's Greek Gods by Rick Riordan. I've just started reading the Percy Jackson books, and I'm just in the second book right now. I knew that this will be available in the sale, so when I found it, I just went forward and shamelessly grabbed a copy because there were just like 5 or 10 available and I wanted to have one. Also, based on the space that was occupied by this book only, I was able to purchase purchase all the other books. It is a huge hardcover that has illustrations of 12 different Greek gods that Rick Riordan has written about after the end of the Percy Jackson series. It is super heavy in its weight, and I'm definitely sure that I'll be reading it sometime after finishing the Percy Jackson series. So if you're going to the sale, please do look out for it. It's also a brand new copy. The book says that its rate is $25 so it costs more than 3,500 rupees for us here. So I can easily say that this entire box is worth its price. And at last I have these 5 short little books which I just purchased as fillers in order to completely stuff the box with books, and I'll just show you the books and I'm not going to talk a lot more about them. The first of these is The Big Butts of Life by Rick Butt. This is about the various reasons that we tell in order to not do the things that we want to do. Next we have The Twits by Roald Dahl, which is about this old couple who don't like children at all. I've actually listened to the audiobook of this one, but when I saw a Roald Dahl book I just wanted to have it. And then we have Mr. Happy, which is just a part of this huge collection of short books that are written about emotions for children. I'm sure I'm going to give this for my nephew and niece. Next we have a Star Wars fandom book, and it is Be More Vader. I know nothing about Star Wars, but I have this idea to watch at least all the Star Wars movies by the end of this year. So I'll probably read this after I watch all the movies. And at last we have the short book, which is just an interview with J.K. Rowling. Finally, I want to tell you guys 2 things alone about the sale. The first one is about the collection of books. I don't think that the collection is that huge as it used to be before in the live sales. When I purchased from the online Lock the Box sale for the past 3 times, the collection was very huge and I was able to sort from a very wide variety of genres as well as categories of books. It was not that much available this time in the live event. The second thing is that the sizes of all the 3 boxes has shrunk a lot. If this 3000 rupees box itself had been a bit bigger in its size as it used to be 2 years back, I would have easily been able to fit in at least 30 to 35 books inside the box. Since the dimensions have shrunk, now I was just able to fit in 25 books. So please do keep in mind these 2 things while you're going to the sale. So yes guys, that's it for the unboxing as well as my experience inside the event. Tell me whether you went to the sale or are planning to go to the sale in the comments below. And if you did find this video useful in some way or the other, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.